We are going to begin this evening's board meeting. Today is Wednesday, March 15th. It is 7 o'clock, and I'd like to call the call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Curtis?
Here.
Mr. Salura?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Felber?
Here.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Here.
Okay, we are all here. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening and welcome guest families. I won't welcome the families of the schools that are supposed to be here because of the snow day. They are not here. So I am Mark Curtis, and it is my privilege to be your board president. Spring is right around the corner. You can just tell by looking outside, right? I don't know about you, but losing an hour of sleep and a foot of snow isn't my idea of spring, but hey, it's just another day in Northeast Ohio, right? All kidding aside, believe it or not, we are heading into the last stretch of the school year as spring school activities are well underway. I would like to acknowledge the retirement of Ann Allard, 22 years of service, Sharon Berry with 14 years of service, Susan Orth with 19 years of service, Velva Salasinski with 29 years of service. Is that right?
Salsinski.
Salsinski, almost, dang it. 29 years of service, and Judith Velamisis with 15 years of service. We truly appreciate the contributions that you've made to our district and our children, and we wish you the very best. I also want to thank everyone who came out and supported our schools by attending the basketball fundraiser featuring Twinsburg staff members at the high school 2 weeks ago. A great time was had by all involved, and most of those who played made it out unscathed, myself included. There will also be another community forum on March 20th at the library regarding the May ballot issue, so please come out and encourage others to attend as well. We've made a concerted effort to keep the public informed as to our financial status and how these dollars will be spent. As a reminder, there is also a Facebook account up and running that is under Twinsburg Schools Levy, where pertinent information can also be found. In addition, we also have a website where information about the levy can also be obtained. The website is www.twinsburglevy.com, and that's all one word, twinsburglevy.com. There's still time to volunteer or donate, so if you're interested, please visit either and submit your information for follow-up. Finally, I've recently received news from the Ohio Department of Education that they have decided to delay submitting their draft compliance of the federal Every Student Succeeds Act. Recall that feedback has been gathered previously from all stakeholders throughout the state. However, upon release of this draft, it appeared that none of the feedback was used and that things would remain status quo. The new federal guidelines offer states an opportunity for more flexibility and control over testing and other areas of academic accountability. If you submitted feedback, called or wrote ODE or our representatives, we truly appreciate your vigilance and activism. You are making a difference. Our superintendent recently testified in Columbus before the Joint Education Oversight Committee on behalf of our district. And I also met with Representative Christina Rogner and Senator Frank LaRose in Columbus earlier today to keep our concerns at the forefront. It's important to note that our collective efforts are not unique or isolated. We remain committed to ensuring our tradition of excellence continues. We will continue to hold the Ohio Department of Education as well as our elected officials accountable for doing what is in the best interest of our children and our school district. So without further delay, I will turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Mrs. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Good evening. Good evening, Board of Education. It seems awfully quiet in here without our students. If you're watching this on our cable broadcast, today happens to be the day that we had a calamity day, and the students are not here this evening. We do apologize to the families that were planning to be here with students to celebrate all the great things that they are engaged in our schools, and we will postpone their recognitions for the month of April. So we apologize for any inconvenience that might have caused anybody this evening. Mr. Curtis, you mentioned the basketball game, and I want to echo my thoughts and thanks as well, but you did not mention who sang the national anthem at the very beginning to kick off the game. Didn't know that Mr. Curtis was such a wonderful soloist, has quite the voice, and surprised all of us, I think. So thank you for sharing your talents with us. That was a lot of fun and a great way to kick off a really good community event. So thank you for sharing your talent with us.
My contribution aside my basketball skills.
Of course, of course. Board of Education, as Mr. Curtis just mentioned, last Thursday I had the opportunity to testify before the Joint Education Oversight Committee down at the Ohio State House in Columbus. I was invited to do so because I had met with Representative Christina Rogner when she had office hours here at the Twinsburg Public Library a week or so ago. And I shared on behalf of our administrative team here in the Twinsburg City School District, as well as the administrative superintendents from the Akron area, our concerns, our collective concerns about the draft ESSA proposal. And through that conversation, I was connected with Chairman Cupp's office and then invited to testify before that very important committee. And they were very thoughtful in listening to our testimony. Not only did I represent the Twinsburg schools, but also Mrs. Beth Osick, one of our parents, was there and offered testimony about the metrics used on the local report card. Other superintendents from across the state, representatives from the Ohio Education Association and the Ohio Federation of Teachers spoke about all of our collective concerns and the need for us to put a pause on submitting Ohio's draft plan in April. The federal law indicates that Ohio and all states in the United States have until September, I believe the 27th of September, to submit a plan that really will work for students in our state and in states across the United States. And I'm very grateful that Monday of this week, State Superintendent Paulo DiMaria made mention now that he is going to take a pause on submitting that to provide for more opportunity to carefully review all of the feedback that was gathered in all of those listening sessions back in the fall of this current school year. So on behalf of the administrative team, I want to thank Mrs. Nora Suter-Riley and the members of our Twinsburg teaching staff, all of the parents that got behind the effort in communicating with our local and state representatives, the Board of Education who reached out likewise. You see, when we do this together, when we have an effort that is consistent and collaborative, good things can happen. Now the next thing here is to continue this work and make sure that when they review the feedback from listening sessions, that is going to be captured in a way that's good for kids. And so we continue the advocacy on behalf of our students. Look forward to speaking once again in Columbus Board of Education. I've been invited back to testify next week, this time about the budget bill, so I will be doing that on behalf of you and the students here in our school district. So I appreciate the fact that our state legislator, Christina Rogner, is very interested in what we're saying here in our school district and connects us where we need to be connected. And we'll be speaking on behalf now of the budget bill next week. So I will be reporting back about that experience when I return from Columbus. Now some good news. For the third year in a row, our Twinsburg High School concert band has qualified for the OMEA State Large Group Adjudicated event. Our very talented Twinsburg band students performed last Friday, March 10th at Green High School in Uniontown, and the concert band earned a superior rating overall for an outstanding performance. Additionally, the Twinsburg High School band earned straight ones from all judges. That's very significant. That's an excellent, outstanding rating. And indeed, this was a very impressive feat on behalf of all of our band students. The OMEA State Large Group Adjudicated event will take place on Friday and Saturday, April 28th and 29th at North Royalton High School. And this is considered to be the state competition. So this is a very big deal. We're very, very proud of all of our concert band students, and of course very proud of Mr. Ryan Bonnetts, and very thankful to the Twinsburg band boosters for their support of a very large group of students who are extremely talented, as noted by now their invitation to the state competition. Board of Education on Monday, March 20th, as Mr. Curtis has just mentioned, we will have our second community forum. Marty and I will be presenting information about the financial landscape. This time the meeting will be held over at the Twinsburg Public Library at 6 o'clock p.m. If you missed our initial conversation, this was back a month or so ago at the middle school, we invite our residents out to listen and to share, to ask questions about the district's financial picture. Again, this is Monday, March 20th at 6 p.m. over at the Twinsburg Public Library. Just a reminder to all of our parents that report cards for the third grading period will be distributed this Friday, March 17th, and included in the report cards will be information about this year's state assessment, so please look for that very important information. Board of Education, just so you know and so that our community members know, we just learned from the Summit County Board of Elections that our 6.9 mil operating levy for the May 2nd ballot will be issue number 15. So that will be a very important number for us to know. It's issue number 15 is the 6.9 mil operating levy ballot issue on May 2nd. Saturday, April 22nd is the date for this year's Tiger Fitness Fun Run, and due to the fact that we are celebrating our bicentennial this year in our community, the theme this year is the Twinsburg Bicentennial Tiger Spirit Run, a little bit of a change on the name. And this year's event will begin at Tiger Stadium at 10 o'clock a.m. on Saturday, April 22nd, and will feature a 2-mile run and a 1-mile walk. That's my speed. All Tiger families are invited to participate for a great morning of fitness and fun. And also in our efforts to give back to our community, we're asking all participants to please bring a can of canned fruit, and that will be donated to our partners in the Pause on Child Hunger effort, and that is the Emergency Assistance Center. So we appreciate all that they do for our students and our community, and this will be our way of giving back to the Emergency Assistance Center. Information about this year's Twinsburg Bicentennial Tiger Spirit Run can be found on our district website. If you click on Flyer Central, we have some registration information there, so please visit there for more information. And then finally, speaking about the bicentennial, we all receive postcards in the mail about the bicentennial book. Beginning March 24th, you can pick up your copy of the bicentennial book at the Board of Education office. It's one of many locations in our community. Please remember to bring your postcard, though, because we are going to take your postcard in exchange for a book, and we're going to ask you to put your name and address on the postcard because it will be entered into a drawing at Founders Day, I believe, on July 22nd. So please feel free to come on up to the board office during regular business hours to pick up your bicentennial book. It is a great collection. You're going to want to make sure that you get your copy. And finally, I won't need to tell the kids this, but spring break begins Monday, March 27th. And we're looking forward to the kids coming back on Monday, April 3rd. We hope everyone has a fantastic spring break. And Mr. Curtis, without the students here this evening, that will conclude my report.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Powers. And I always make remarks that my favorite part of the meeting is the students. So since they're not here, that doesn't mean we have an audience. So you are now my favorite part of the meeting because you are here in lieu of the students and parents. So thank you very much. Moving on to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports?
Finance Committee's meeting on Monday the 20th at noon.
Okay, any other committee reports? Okay. Then we'll move on to the administrative report. Ms. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. This evening we have very, very exciting news to share with the Board of Education and our community. Board of Education, as you know, Mr. Welker and I have been very, very busy through the summer months and actually straight through now and continuing on moving forward in our preparation and our soon installation of our new multimedia project. As you know, Board of Education, we have been interested in a new scoreboard at Tiger Stadium, scoreboards at the high school gymnasium, as well as some LCD projectors, or screens rather, at the Commons. But we recognize that this was a very expensive project, and I know the Board of Education is very good about making sure that we pay attention to what happens in our classrooms first and foremost, but we also value what our students do on the fields and on our stages and on the courts. And so we knew that if we were to bring this project to your consideration this evening, that we would have to seek the assistance of corporate partnerships. And so through the summer months, and as I just indicated, actually up until most recently, Chad and I have been very busy engaging many businesses in our community to interest them in their support of this multimedia project. So this evening we have a presentation for you, and we're going to reveal for the very first time formally 4 outstanding business partners here in our community who just really believe in our Twinsburg Tigers and want to be part of this very exciting project. So as we get underway here, just to remind everyone the project goals, we knew that we wanted to provide a new scoreboard and new video screens that will showcase our students. And you know, you go to any venue, if you go downtown to Cleveland and you go to the baseball field or where the Cavaliers play, you know that it's always an event when you go there. It's always about the excitement. And Chad and I, in our conversations before beginning on this journey, had the idea that we really wanted to increase the excitement for our student athletes especially, and for our students in the arts areas. And so when we talked with all of our prospective partners, we said that at the very core of this is to be able to showcase our kids, our students doing outstanding things. And I have to say to you that in all of the conversations, whether or not partners were able to actually agree to assist us, the community businesses really do support our kids. And for financial reasons, some had to say, we're really behind you, but we can't do this. And this evening, we're going to be able to share with you information about 4 partners that are all in and can hardly wait to get started with this project. So we wanted to showcase our kids first and foremost. That was very important to us. But we also wanted opportunities for our students to be able to engage in the use of these devices, these new scoreboards, these new projection devices, so that they actually learn a skill and be able to use that skill when they move out into the world of college or a career. And so we're very excited about the fact that when we install these new multimedia devices, our kids are going to be hands-on with these. We're going to be able to have opportunities for students to understand how do you run them, how do you take care of them, and the value that these devices will bring to our school district as well as to their potential careers in the video production field. Of course, for our businesses, they were looking for opportunities to be able to advertise their businesses. And not only advertise their businesses, but look for ways to give back to the community through this opportunity. And so we're very proud and pleased and appreciative of the local businesses that are joining us through this opportunity. And then finally, we knew that, again, this was a pretty big expense, and we knew that if we were going to move forward with bringing this to our school community, understanding all of the implications to the elimination of tangible personal property tax, understanding that we have now the need to be on the ballot on May 2nd, that indeed if we were going to do this project, this very significant project, we would have to do that through the sponsorships provided by our businesses. In addition to providing the dollars to support the purchase initially to these screens and scoreboards, this will also provide us opportunities for a consistent revenue beyond the initial investment here at these facilities. So one of the things that we're the most proud of is the fact that this project will be at no cost to the community. This is a significant enhancement here in the Twinsburg City School District, and Chad and I are extremely proud of the fact that we are able to present this information to you this evening and to be able to say to you that this is at no cost to our residents. So a little bit about our project. First of all, one of the main features will be the new scoreboard at Tiger Stadium. Board of Education, we have over 200,000 visitors to Tiger Stadium in any given year, and we know that this is a showplace for the school district. Now 2 years ago, we had the new turf installed, and we like to say that we're extremely proud of that. Chad and I enjoy standing by the main gates listening to people when they first visit Tiger Stadium and say, wow, look at that field. Well, I think we're going to get the same kind of experience when folks come in and see this brand new scoreboard that will be installed on that far end next to the field house. If you take a look at the new scoreboard, you will see that the 4 anchor partners that we're going to introduce to you this evening will have space at the bottom where you see the words anchor partners. And then there will also be partners that we will secure, and those will be the rotating boards where you see Exxon, Wells, and Keynes. Those are not our partners. I just want to make that clear. This is this is just a rendition. I like the score on the scoreboard, obviously, but that is a sample of what the scoreboard will eventually look like with the Twinsburg Tiger logo on both sides, and then of course our partners will be posted as shown up on the board there. In addition to the new Tiger Stadium scoreboard, we're very pleased to inform you that this project will also include 2 new scoreboards in the high school gymnasium. This is state-of-the-art. We have been around 2 gymnasiums in the Suburban League, of course, this past winter and beyond that. And I can't tell you that another high school gymnasium has scoreboards such as these. The one scoreboard on the far side where you see the word serve will have the ability to project pictures of our students, playback, and it's just going to be a fantastic opportunity for our students, and I think they're going to be really excited and proud to have their images projected up there. Along the bottom, again, you will see the opportunity for our anchor partners to have their advertisements there. And then on the right-hand side is the new stats board. And if you're walking into the gymnasium at Twinsburg High School, it'll be against the wall that you walk into the gym. So it would be on the north end of the gym, I think that would be. And that's the new stats board, equally as impressive with the anchor partners noted along the bottom. So we're very excited for this new enhancement at Twinsburg High School Gymnasium. We have about 50,000 visitors to our high school gym on any given year. So that is a very busy place. A lot of people are in and out, and that was one of the reasons why the anchor partners were most interested in their investment, because they know that the high visibility of the Twinsburg High School gym would be a benefit to them. And then, of course, when we were out and about in talking with our business partners and others, the one thing that we wanted to clearly communicate is we're very, very proud of all of our athletes, and we believe that the new scoreboard at Tiger Stadium, as well as the stats board and the scoreboard in the gymnasium at Twinsburg High School, will be an exciting part of the venue for our athletes. But we have students that are also engaged in the arts and use the Twinsburg High School auditorium, not only high school students, but all the way down to Wilcox and up. We have families that come over to use the high school auditorium. And so we wanted to add another layer of something that goes beyond our athletic program and actually reaches into our arts program. And so we're very proud to also include in this multimedia project 4 large LCD screens. There will be 3 installed in the Commons at Twinsburg High School, and you'll see a rendition on the right-hand side there, and then 1 that will be installed to the right of the main doors leading into the auditorium. The purpose for those LCD screens will be to be able to simulcast our programs from the stage at Twinsburg High School out into the Commons. So imagine if you have a little child that's a little bit fussy and mom has to take the baby out and she doesn't really want to do that because she sees her 4th graders on the stage performing. Well, now she can do that and not miss her child's performance. And so I think this will be a great value to our parents and, of course, to the students who are performing to be able to be simulcast out in the Commons as well. So those are the 3 parts of our project. We're very excited because it reaches all of our students in all of our grades, at least have some part of this exciting new project. The financial breakdown of our project, the project budget is $350,000. And this evening, Chad is going to provide for you an update on each individual sponsorship, in addition to the monetary component of the partnership agreements. We do have value-added services that the partners are providing for us, in addition to the initial investment to the project budget. We continue to look for additional sponsorship opportunities, and this is one of those projects, Board of Education, that we are just at the very beginning, and I can see for many years to come great benefits to all of our students here in the school district, more importantly to the community at large, because this is saying a lot about the fact that we have businesses that are willing to donate because they believe in our students here in the school district. Chad.
Thank you. So we wanted to go through some of the components of the anchor sponsorship, what the sponsors are receiving as part of their $425,000 investment. And so, of course, they would have the fixed signage at Tiger Stadium and also at the THS Gymnasium. But in addition to that fixed signage, the sponsors are very interested in having a flexible digital platform where they can customize their message on a weekly basis. If they have a certain special that is running for a week or a month, or like Cancer Awareness Month or some of those different events, they can be flexible with that digital platform that's both at, or actually at all three venues. Those flexible digital advertisements also includes an opportunity to have a 30-second advertisement during the pregame at the stadium and also the gymnasium. So some good opportunities for those anchor sponsors. Each anchor sponsor receives a dedicated sponsor night, so each game will be like a sponsor A. I had to work hard not to say the sponsor there, but sponsor A night, so that there's no question that when you walk out of the stadium, when you walk out of the gymnasium, that it's their special night. Each anchor sponsor also receives a feature of the game, so whether it be the sponsor A touchdown or sponsor B first down or timeout. My previous experience at South Euclid Lyndhurst schools, we had a similar scoreboard, and we had the Old Carolina first down, and I can guarantee you that at the end of the season, whenever Brush got a first down, they were always screaming out, not only first down, but it's an Old Carolina barbecue first down. So it just creates another element. You've got the Heinz red zone that you see in football games and different things like that. So each anchor sponsor will get to determine that feature of the game. Sorry, that was a Pittsburgh reference. And then one of the other pieces is recognition through a program or a handout. One of the things that is extremely important to us is that we continue to reiterate to the community that this is at no cost to the community, that it's funded through sponsorship dollars. So every time somebody walks through one of our three venues, we want to provide them with documentation that thanks our sponsors and also reminds them of that situation. So we prepared a special video, and this is a rendition of our stadium scoreboard at Tiger Stadium. So without further ado, we want to introduce our four anchor sponsors.
Sites of care have the right treatment for the right patient at just the right time. Our foresight, scale, and strength enable us to support providers wherever care is delivered, so they have more time to focus on what's most important of all, the patient. Everyone says healthcare is changing. We say we're changing healthcare. Cardinal Health, essential to care.
Time is money, and you'll save both if you hurry. It's the Winter Warehouse Sale starting this Saturday at Carpet Country Flooring and Design Center.
It's why we stand in a frozen Muni lot 6 hours before kickoff. It's why we go to every game, generation after generation. It's why we cherish memories of a team steeped in history and look ahead with an endless supply of optimism. It's why our University Hospital sports medicine experts keep athletes from Pee Wee to Pro performing at their highest level. We do it for our team, for our city, for Browns football.
So those are our four anchor sponsors, and you can see them at the bottom of our rendition of the scoreboard in alphabetical order there. And we wanted to go into just a little further detail about the four sponsors and the agreements. The first two are non-exclusive 5-year sponsors, so the baseline for being an anchor sponsor was a non-exclusive 5-year sponsorship for $50,000 so basically 5 years, $10,000 a year. Cardinal Health is our first non-exclusive 5-year sponsor. They're headquartered in Dublin, Ohio, and they provide pharmaceuticals and medical supplies to pharmacies, hospitals, surgery centers, and physician offices. And we may think of them as Edge Park Medical Supplies or AssureMed. They were acquired by Cardinal Health, so they have had a long presence here in the Twinsburg community. And Edge Park AssureMed has been a leading provider of medical supplies to the patients in the home for many years. They were founded in 1928. So that's our first sponsor. Our second sponsor has been part of the community for 35 years, and Carpet Country. And they sell and install carpet, hardwood floors, area rugs, tile and stone, laminate floors, a number of different flooring. So Carpet Country is the second non-exclusive 5-year sponsor. Then we have two exclusive sponsors. So Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, which also goes by the name of American Bottling Company. Their headquarters are out of Plano, Texas. I'm fairly excited about, I've been to all three beverage companies' museums and have been to the one at Dr. Pepper in Waco, Texas. It's a very nice facility where you get to learn all about the history of Dr. Pepper. But it's fairly unique that we were able to attract a beverage contract. Ever since the healthy food guidelines that have entered into the schools for many, many years, the profit for some of the beverage companies has severely dwindled. And so to have a beverage contract in a school district is fairly rare. And Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, they have been part of the Twinsburg community since 2011, and they have a wide variety of leading brands such as Snapple, A&W, Root Beer, Canadian Dry, RC Cola, Bai Water, which I've gotten addicted to, Deja Blue Water, Fiji, Body Armor, which is a leading sports drink that's being promoted by a number of the sports athletes now, 7-Up and more. And so with their sponsorship, they have an exclusive 6-year sponsorship in addition to the baseline sponsorship of $10,000 a year. They also have provided a number of other value-added benefits. Some of those include some incredibly discounted pricing, and we also have price protection that the cost of the product over the course of the 6 years cannot go up by, it's even less than an inflationary factor. We receive commissions and rebates for all of our products sold. That is a significant amount of money that's almost doubles the value of the agreement. We receive free products donated to the school district. There's components of that within the contract. All of our equipment that would be selling these products, vending machines, coolers, sideline kits, menu boards, recycling bins, they would all be customized with a Twinsburg logo. So if it's front and center in our schools, we would have that branded with our Twinsburg City School District logo. And we'll be able to refresh, for instance, the menu boards that have for the different concession stands. And then also they have included a $750 donation to the Twinsburg Schools Foundation for the development of some form of grant. So for each year. So a number of different value-added services to that contract. And then our last but not least is our exclusive 8-year sponsorship with University Hospitals. They provided, they are doing $12,500 a year, so the total contract is worth $100,000 of pure sponsorship money. In addition to that, they have a number of value-added services that they're offering. One is our CPR AED training for all staff that's required every 5 years. It's a new mandate that we have as far as all staff, so they will provide that as part of the contract at no cost to the district. The second one is the CPR AED training for students who need to. It's a graduation requirement now, so they will provide that at no cost to the district as well. So I can tell you that Superintendent Powers and I have been at a number of meetings where we've talked about that unfunded mandate, and a number of districts are trying to figure out how they would be able to afford that. So we were able to bundle that into the UH contract. As Board President Kearse mentioned, we have had a team physician, Dr. Hillard, here for a number of years, and we are able to maintain him as our team physician. Also, trainer Mike, we always are concerned when he is absent that we want to have a backup service, and so UH has provided, as long as it's not for a extreme amount of time, that they would provide a substitute athletic trainer at no cost to the district as part of that as well. And even if he was out for an extended period of time, we have an arrangement in that contract to provide that backup service as well. Our annual athletic physicals, they will help us in doing those. We wanted to make sure that we had nutrition, sports medicine presentations to our parents and students, and so they will provide those on a seasonal basis to help educate our student athletes and our parents. Our annual pupil activity validation course at no cost to the district, in addition to the impact concussion testing, both baseline and post-injury. So a number of different value-added services that definitely makes that an extremely valuable partnership as well.
And Board of Education, if I could just remind you that in addition to what Mr. Welker is indicating, remember that Ahuja, which is part of the University Hospital chain, is a tremendous partner with us in our new academy at Twinsburg High School beginning next year. So University Hospitals has thrown so many wonderful benefits to our school district through the academy and now through our scoreboard project, our multimedia project. You know, when Chad and I were about talking with these four partners, I can only tell you what a wonderful opportunity that was for us to be able to talk about our students and share the reason why this project meant so very much to Chad and me. And we were speaking on behalf of the Board of Education when we visited all four of these organizations. And as Chad indicated, especially Dr. Pepper Snapple, they were pretty upfront with us during our initial conversations, and they said, the beverage industry is doing business a different way, and we don't usually support partnerships with school districts anymore because the turnaround on their investment isn't as great as it once was. But in subsequent conversations with Dr. Pepper Snapple, what they told us was, they're in our district, they're in our community, and they really believe in the school district, they really believe in our kids, and they said they believe that they want to be a part of growing great kids, of growing a great community, and so they were all in. And so those kinds of conversations were repeated 4 times over with each of these organizations, folks that were just truly committed to our students and making an opportunity for our kids that otherwise would not be available to them. So we just are so very indebted to Cardinal Health and University Hospitals and Mike Kovach over at Carpet Country and Snapple Dr. Pepper, because they are the first ones out here and truly committed. Board of Education, the other thing I wanted to point out is when we visited our local businesses, purposefully we identified the businesses for which our booster organizations don't usually ask for donations. We understand and recognize that our booster organizations rely on local businesses for much of what they do to support their efforts. And so when Chad and I made the decision to visit businesses, we wanted to make sure that we were touching upon businesses that our boosters were not reliant on for their own efforts. And so that's why you will see through the life of this project, those are the kinds of businesses that we hope will continue to support this kind of an effort. And in doing this kind of work, we recognize the importance of partnerships for our other organizations as well. For your recognition, we didn't talk too much about the video screens, but these are the same quality screens that you will find at Progressive Field and down at the Cleveland Brown Stadium. This is going to be tremendous. We can't even explain to you how exciting this is going to be when these are installed. And just to talk through the project timeline, hopefully Board of Education, with your approval this evening of our 4 sponsorship agreements, and then with the agreement with Daktronics, which is the organization that is going to then build our scoreboards and help install them. As soon as our track season is over at Tiger Stadium, which is the end of May or the beginning of June, we will begin the installation of the Tiger Stadium scoreboard first. You know how Chad is. He's always first in the pipeline, and so he's been working very hard with Daktronics to get first in line for a summer installation so that when our football team hits the field, our soccer team hits the field in the fall of this coming school year, that scoreboard will be installed and ready to go. So we will be on time with your approval this evening. No pressure, right? But that's why, even though it's a calamity day, we had to have this board meeting tonight because we wanted to stay on our timeline moving this forward. And then following the beginning of the installation project at Tiger Stadium, at the end of June, once things have cleared out of the high school, through the beginning of July, you will see the installation of the new scoreboards over at Twinsburg High School's gymnasium. Again, very, very exciting for all of our winter sports athletes, our basketball teams, wrestling teams, the girls volleyball team, anybody who uses the high school gymnasium. You know, the tab wrestling tournament is a huge opportunity, and actually, especially when we were meeting with Mr. Kovach over at Carpet Country, he is a wrestling coach by experience and was very interested and understood the importance of that tab wrestling tournament. So we were able to connect experiences with the folks that we met with, and he was excited about having his company on the scoreboard in the gymnasium where kids are going to be participating in wrestling too. So there was that connection. And then, of course, as we move into the summer months, we will have the installation of the new LCD screens in the Commons at Twinsburg High School. There are, again, 3 large screen LCD screens that will be installed in the Commons area, and then 1 will be installed over next to the right-hand side of the main entrance into the auditorium. A couple weeks back when we had the North Coast Invitational, I was thinking to myself, you know, the Twinsburg Vocal Music Boosters have to invest in bringing one of these very large screen TV devices to simulcast out of the auditorium. They will no longer have to do that because we will have these installed. So that will be a cost savings to the vocal music boosters who won't be needing to do that any longer when those LCD screens are now installed in the Commons at the high school. So we are so excited, and before I turn it over to the board for questions, I just wanted to tell you, Board of Education, Chad's ability to negotiate contracts. This would not have happened if Chad was not your business manager. Extremely smart about business, understands how to negotiate these contracts, works very closely with our board's legal counsel to make sure that your rights and responsibilities are taken care of to the letter of the law. And I am just very proud of the work that he did in pulling this all together. I was along for the ride, no doubt, and was very happy to meet with all of these partners to just talk about our kids. That was my part of this whole conversation, was to relate to these partners about our kids and why this is important to them. But as far as the negotiation of these 4 contracts, I have to hand it to Chad here. Did a phenomenal job. Extremely proud of him, and I hope that you will join me in thanking him for his work. It was phenomenal, and his work means great things for our kids. Thank you.
I was
Wow.
going to add, I remember when this project started, and even just vetting the vendors to even decide. Corporate dollars are very hard to come by. I agree with absolutely everything you said, Chad, with the exception of the Pittsburgh comment. It was tremendous work, and like I said, corporate dollars are hard to come by, and we're talking only 4 anchor sponsors, and then the ability to expand this. Lots of hard work. I think, what are we going back, 7-8 months when we first approved this? So, thank you.
Well, even longer. I think it was even back, a year and a half ago, about, I'd say. So, I just wanted to add, this is so exciting. I know we initially had the buildings and grounds, and when Chad and Kathy brought to us that they had some good prospects for sponsors, we were very excited about that. The actual screen, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, where Exxon, and that's actually TV screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So the entire part between the tigers on the left and the right, that entire screen is digital.
Right, and then as well as like where Twinsburg is, that is as well, correct? Or the score itself, or is that?
Right. So the
So
bottom
that
where
is-
the score is, that's all digital. So that could be that large of a screen.
Of a picture,
Of a
right.
picture,
And that's
yes.
what I know we initially talked about. That was really exciting, that we would have that big of a screen if we were doing instant replays or whatever, or if we even have an event at the stadium, you would have that large area to have a visual. So, yeah, definitely thank you, both Kathy and Chad. Great work, and we are just so very excited for this.
And I know there's going to be so much you can do with this. I'm kind of envisioning right now, like senior night featuring the pictures of our students one at a time, and just a great way to showcase them too. It's going to be really exciting.
Well, I want to give a heartfelt thanks to the sponsors for stepping up in a big way. It's not just about fronting the money, although that's huge. It is. I was completely blown away with the extent to which they continue to contribute in a lot of other ways that still result in cost savings, but really enhancing the experience of our kids, allowing them to get experience hands-on that they otherwise wouldn't, even in a curriculum way with respect to university hospitals. I was not expecting that at all. There was a lot in that presentation that I wasn't expecting. So Chad, I'm going to echo what Mrs. Powers said. Although nothing ever ceases to amaze me in terms of what you've been able to negotiate in contracts. Not only this, but a number of contracts in a very significant way. Chad has been able to negotiate things and negotiate down the overall cost and increase what we get and what we come away with in a lot of other contracts. I want to make sure that that the community knows that this is not unique in terms of what he was able to do here. He's been doing this for a long time, and so a lot of the cost savings that we realize, the community doesn't understand or doesn't know, but we know it, and it's because of how we like to operate in terms of being fiscally responsible. The other piece is this is truly a value add in its entirety for the district, and it comes at no cost. I'm just blown away that, for one, it's come to fruition. As my colleagues have said, it's been talked about for a long time, and I know that there's been a lot of work that's gone on back and forth behind the scenes over an extended period of time. But I don't think that that's a bad thing. It speaks to how thoughtful the administration is in making sure that all of the T's are crossed and all of the I's are dotted, and it's done the right way. I would shudder to think that we would rush something like this only to find that it fall apart. So I appreciate the time and effort and the thoughtful approach in getting this done, so that now we can all enjoy this for a long time to come.
Just wanted to add, I think it's important to note that these are all businesses located within the district. We didn't, you had the foresight to stay within the district to get that, and while their main headquarters might be in Texas or somewhere else, these are all, University Hospitals while it's an international company, it's started here in Cleveland, and we have a very strong presence of university here. Dr. Pepple Snapple, they're all in the area, they're all Twinsburg part of our community, which I think is a very important thing. I'm amazed. I read the contracts. I'm just amazed. I mean, just even the fact that the vending machines are going to have our logo on them. It's just a way to, the entire building's now freshened up. Everything would be, all the dispensing equipment, all of that is all, all freshened up and all included in this. And I think it's amazing. It's, things that we needed to do anyway. Not even scoreboard stuff. I mean, just maintenance things that had to be done anyway that are now being rolled into this and taken care of. So again, appreciate the hard work. Thank you very much, and looking forward to it progressing. So
yeah, so there will be no problem on my behalf that there's going to be support for this. So no pressure, as you alluded to.
I just want to thank everybody for the kind words. It's a great opportunity to be here at Twinsburg State School District, and all the partners. I think saw a huge opportunity to also unite with a strong school district, and so that made it that much easier than having my teammate here, and was extremely helpful in seeing that you have the superintendent attending all these anchor partnership meetings was a huge foot in the door to move everything forward. So it was definitely a team effort.
Well, much appreciated.
And then I just had one for the actual sign itself. I know a lot of the discussion when we put in the turf for the colors. I know this is a big thing for a lot of individuals in the community. Is it going to be the midnight blue matching the field then? That will be the same blue as the jerseys in the field? Or is that still has not been discussed yet? Is that something we need to discuss? Because if I'm looking at that looks a lighter blue, and I know that was a point of contention on the field with the midnight blue versus that. So something maybe we can talk about in buildings and ground. I don't need an answer today, but maybe we can talk about that so that the blues are consistent with the field and the jerseys. So
That would be the end goal, Mrs. Waldron,
Right,
to make
right.
sure that things look consistent. Whenever we purchase anything now for any of our facilities, the intention is to make it look consistently in color and in logo. We do have the rights to that tiger now, so you
Good.
see that being applied everywhere. So that will be the end goal here. With the approval of the contract this evening, now the attention is to the detail of
Right.
working with Daktronics to make sure that the colors are selected and that we're on time for
Right.
installation here at the end of May, beginning of June.
right. Thank you.
And just a minor detail, and no, this has probably been mentioned before in some of the meetings, but the tiger itself was designed by one of our former students. So it's exciting to see like that in all the buildings, and then knowing that it was one of our arts, I'm assuming an art student who created that.
a number of years ago, yeah. And it was initially painted on the wall in the Commons, and since that point in time has now been applied in lots of places.
Very cool.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll move on to remonstrance. Do we have anyone that's willing, that wants to speak? Why don't you bring that? And hand them to Mr. Aho. Oh, okay. I thought he got him, but okay. Okay, so we do have two people, two cards for remonstrance. So in the fact that we do have that, I want to read the passage for remonstrance so that everyone kind of understands what the guidelines are with respect to that. Persons wishing to address the board should submit a blue card, to which I have, to the treasurer prior to the meeting so that they can be recognized by the board president and welcomed to make a comment. No formal action will be taken on subjects that are not included on this agenda until the board has had an opportunity to study them. Comments regarding personnel must be submitted in writing through the office of the superintendent. Although there is normally adequate time for citizens to express themselves at a board meeting, if several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 5 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. Each person addressing the board is asked to give his or her name and address. So I have Kelly Newsom.
Good evening, board members and superintendent and Mr. Welker. Before I say anything else, I was blown away too. I was excited. We've been hearing about it coming, and it was nice to see. Good work. And I just wanted to speak on behalf of my family. I'm not going to speak on behalf of anyone else, but I love Twinsburg. We moved here for a reason. I love the academic program. However, I have 2 academic athletes, very, very, very talented athletes. I'm not saying that because I'm mom. I'm saying that we have the medals and we watch. And I want to see, I know we have the talent in Twinsburg, and I'm discouraged by hearing so many people talking about taking their students to other systems because they don't feel the nourishment in the athletic program. They feel it, they get it academically, but they're not getting the same. And I'm not just saying winning in terms of numbers, it's just the culture. We don't necessarily feel the, I feel like our academic program is focused on the growth and enhancement of our students so that they can go out in the world and excel, be ready for college. I'm I'm supportive of it, and I know you support our students. I just don't feel like we're getting that same commitment from the athletic program. We've been going to this past basketball season to different cities. And when you go into these schools, and some of the cities are maybe a little bit more affluent than Twinsburg, so they may have a little bit more money coming in than we do. But not just on the money sense. I see a lot of community support. I was speaking to Mr. Wilker at the staff basketball game, and I was telling them we were in Jackson. And we rode through Jackson, and the minute you go in, all along the streets, just like we have the Christmas trees, were the students, the seniors of each athletic sports, the wrestling, swimming, basketball, football. Just the banners that we have in our gym were all lined up along the city. When we went to Subway in between a tournament, there's just all posters and signs and just support. You can tell that the community supports the students, the athletes, And I know our city supports our kids. I know they do. I know our boosters work hard. I would just like to see, I want to know how we can help you, help us, help our kids to be showcased and feel like they're part of a winning program. I think the culture is what makes the numbers go. And then we also need to make sure that we get a coaching staff that wants to nourish and grow these athletes, not just, okay, well, we're not winning, so oh well. And I'm not here to say anybody needs to be fired or whatever. The coaches that we have, if we're going to keep the coaches that we have in all sports, then I feel like they should take the commitment. Our kids, I have a 6th grader that's been in the rec league since 3rd grade, and we have all volunteers for the rec league. But I see so much more of a commitment from these coaches, these dads and these moms that they're not paid, they just want these kids to do well. They want to prepare them to go to the next level. I would like to see the next level coach come to the games and learn and meet these students and show an interest. I want to meet little Joey, I want to meet little Quincy, I want to meet little Stefan, and I want to know what they're good at. And so when they come to RBC out of the rec, they're ready. They know this, they have this relationship. And then when they leave RBC and they go to high school, they know the coaches and everyone works together. It should be a family, it should be a culture. It shouldn't be, okay, well, I'm turning you over and we don't know what's going on here, and then you start all over. It's frustrating for the kids, it's frustrating for us, it's frustrating for the community to come to these games. I feel like a Browns fan sometimes. I'm going to be there, we're going to support, but we need to make sure that we have a winning culture. So I just want to know what it is that we have to do as the community to help with that. I'm not coming in pointing fingers or saying this has to be done. I want to know what we need to do to help you, to help the kids. It's more competitive now in the college world to get in. It's very expensive to go to college. We've got straight A students that are having a hard time getting scholarships. You've got athletes that may not do as well academically. They have a hard time. But when you get an academic athlete, they have better opportunities to get more scholarships. It's been proven that they do better in the workforce. It just creates a better, well-rounded student. And so I want you to know that I want to help. I'm going to be more present, and I want to be a part of the change, but I just want you to know that, we really want this, we really need this, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Darrell?
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Powers, Mr. Welker. I see you all the time. And again, I'd just like to express my same sentiments with the school board and everything. It's really exciting to see, and it's kind of a segue into kind of what we're talking about with the athletic program. And kind of some of the same sentiments my wife spoke about. We're very, very excited and very passionate about the sports program and the kids. I speak from a volunteer coach. Since my kids, if we're little and some of the other kids, and it's kind of funny now to see these kids that we coached at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, now they're seniors getting ready to graduate, and you see the progression. But again, we're starting to see the buy-in is that we wish we were seeing a little bit more with the athletic program. Like I said, academics is wonderful. Haven't had any issues at all with that, but I think we're having a disconnect, I think we're seeing with the athletic program in terms of the whole nourishment, the whole buy-in. I think what we've seen as from looking at it from a coach's perspective, when we volunteer, we give all we can to these kids, and we know at that point it's time to pass them on and let the schools take over, and we've done everything we can. And it seems like for whatever reason, from that 7th and 8th grade level is a fall off. And that can't happen because that's the most influential period, and that's the time where we feel that you really, really have to key in, because if you don't get it right really by the 7th and 8th grade year, by the time the 9th grade, it's almost kind of too late, because they're getting ready to play varsity. And if they haven't figured it out almost at the junior 7th and 8th grade level, we kind of lose some of that. And with that being said, there's some of the frustrations that maybe you don't see from some of the students, and only see it because from being a coach, and then you see them one year when you coached with them, and then you see them the next year, and their demeanors or sometimes their attitudes a little bit different. You're trying to find out what's the problem, and sometimes we're not seeing it all. I'm not saying we're perfect or anything, and I'm not saying that the folks that are there trying, but I'm thinking we're seeing too many. I guess we would like to see, as from when I guess the hiring's being done, if they're reaching out to persons that are, so to speak, qualified for, not saying that the people that are there aren't qualified, but people that have a passion for the sport, be it football, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be. I'm speaking off of what we've seen in terms of that, and it just doesn't seem like the same connection. It's like the connection's kind of lost, and it's like, man, we want these kids to just to excel as far as they can possibly go, but for whatever reason we're losing it, and somewhere it's getting lost in translation. And that's when it's that rebuilding period I'm talking about from 9th grade on, and it's a lot harder to start all over when you've gotten to this point, and then they get reprogrammed, and it's like, we got to keep them going. And as we drive through the different communities and you see what the winning programs are doing, you're trying to take notice of, well, what are they doing different here that we're not maybe necessarily doing? And it's not about wins or losses. I'm more concerned about the culture, because wins or losses doesn't make you a better person, but your attitude and the positivity that's being done. Some of the things that we need to see with these kids, you always got to keep reinforcing them and bringing them back up even when they are falling. And they may not be the best athlete, but that'll give them another venue, another opportunity. And then eventually that nourishment and that nurturing will produce winning, the culture, and all of a sudden we're winning, and now you got people coming to see you. It's kind of hard to get scholarships athletically when unfortunately your teams aren't doing that well sometimes, and you don't get the people to come see you as much. So, we want to just see what we can do to help bridge that gap. If there's anything we can do as a parent, as a volunteer coach for all these years, I'm still going to continue to help and do whatever we can. But if there's somewhere where we can bridge that gap through communication, through talking to the teachers or through the coaches and whoever it may be on whatever level, know that the community is behind everybody. We still want to continue to see this community flourish and grow. We got a brand new scoreboard coming in, so we want to put some W's in there. So we're seeing some stuff on our side for a change. And just bring that winning tradition like we do with the Blue Star as far as academic. We want our athletic program to be the same way. So, I don't want to repeat everything she's kind of saying, but pretty much that's the thing is we want to make sure that and we have a full buy-in. I think too many times we're seeing, like at least to see on the 7th and 8th grade level, a lot of the people that are being in the positions aren't necessarily there for the kids. It seems like they get paid. It's a job, and they get paid extra money to do that. But we need to see the full commitment. I mean, we did it for volunteers for free, and we don't want any money out of it. We want the kids to do well, but we just want to see that same thing reciprocated once we pass them on to everybody else. That's pretty much all I have to say. Hopefully with the new scoreboard, we get new sounds as well, and because we're getting cameras too, I think, right? Since we're going to do the scoreboard, I know that's kind of side. Just hoping we can see all that too. Right? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. You're screwing up my protocol.
I'm sorry. I really am. I'm sorry. I got nervous up here. Talking about the whole culture, my husband DJ'd the last senior game, and the last varsity game, and anyone that was there, the electricity in that room was really exciting. And then we turned around and we had our first tournament game. We see students in that student section just standing there the longest, and we're like, why are they just standing there? They're not doing anything. They lit up that stadium. They cheered, "Here we go, Tigers, here we go." It was something I wish, well, you did record it, but it was something like I've never seen before. And I asked my son after the game about pep rallies, and he said, we don't have pep rallies. And I'm like, we need to get pep rallies back in at least before home games. I don't know how you can work that in. I don't know if it's even possible, if it's feasible, but we got to get these students and excited about their programs for the girls, for the boys, for the football teams, for the swim teams, for everybody. When we have a home meet or a home game, we should have pep rallies, and that was the other part that I wanted to say. We got to find a way to get the students. I'm excited about this, and so I told him you should try and see about DJing more games, football and basketball, to get the kids and get the fans more excited, and make this a happening town as far as the sports go. So I forgot to mention that with the pep rallies. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for coming up. I'm very passionate about athletics. I coach for a living. That's what I do. And I think Mark and I have, Mr. Curtis and I have had several conversations about culture and things along those lines. My husband coached my son all through NTYF. He's a junior in high school. So we've seen children grow up. For me, I think athletics is a great opportunity for kids. It just doesn't offer them the opportunity to perform on the field. It is, the relationship that athletes have with their coaches is like no other. I know Tina's husband coached for many, many years. I know several of probably all of us up here have coached at some point. It's very rewarding, but I think moving forward, I would like to make a recommendation that we have a athletic council or meeting and maybe talk about some philosophies, talk about culture, come up with some ideas as what we as a board would like our athletic program to look like, and what type of culture do we want it to be. So for me, I think it's a good time to do that. It's, we're coming into the end of the school year. We have summer to start our fall programs. If we're going to have discussions like this, I think this would be a very appropriate time to do that. So for me, I'm all about culture and all about, what is our philosophy and what are our goals. So, all right.
Thanks. There's one more back there, Mr. Curtis. Write it down.
I'm sorry. Okay, come on up. Don't be shy. Okay, Linda Fitzgerald.
I'm just going to reiterate on everything that they said to the board and scoreboard and everything. And I'm not a good person to probably say what I want to say, but I have a different outlook with the coaching because we have excellent athletes down here, and I have a different outlook for the coaching because, as Jarrell said, just with our young boys growing up as athletes and all of the kids playing together as young athletes and then getting to the high school level, and just from their sophomore, junior year, it seems like everything fell apart from me viewing. And we have top athletes in Twinsburg. And the way I see it, we should have a winning team. And I'm saying basketball. I don't know about football because I'm not a big football fan, but I just wanted to voice my opinion on basketball, and I'm going to come and meet with Mrs. Powers on other issues, but I just want to put it out there that, again, if we could just reiterate on you guys coming together with the parents and just being there for the kids, with just possibly trying to get with the coaches and see where they're at in supporting our boys, because I think personally that we need a new coach, and that's just my own personal opinion, because our boys should be far more advanced than where they are right now. Because me personally, when I have to look at my grandson coming home, and I'm just speaking for myself, not anyone else, and he's probably one of the #1 athletes down here, but for him to come home and want to move from this district, because that's how disappointed he is in the district, I mean, that breaks my heart. And I don't know if I should bring it up here, but I mean, I'm just letting you know how I feel and he feels. And this may not be the place to say it, but I'm just putting it out there to let you know that he's probably not the only one that feels that way, and that we as parents need to do something about it. And I'm just putting it out there that we need to get it together for our students, and especially for our athletes. And if we could just work together, like Darrell and Kelly said, to help our students or help our athletes and help our athletic department, and just get it together for our boys so that they could at least have a good year for their senior year. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
just for a point of clarification with respect to any, personnel matters, you are following the right protocol, going through the superintendent. It is an administrative matter that needs to be handled through those channels. So you're following the process that you should be. And then with respect to, our committee, it's always good to hear comments and/or concerns, especially understanding kind of what the tenor is and what the pulse of the community is with respect to our extracurricular activities. And so we'll definitely take your concerns under advisement. So we appreciate all your comments. Okay, we'll move on to item H, Treasurer's Report and Recommendations. Without objection from my colleagues, I'll read H1 and 2 together. H1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following meeting minutes. The regular meeting of March 1st, 2017, as sent to the board under separate cover. And 2, that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer as sent to the board under separate cover. Do I have a motion to approve H1 and 2?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Felber. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Solera. Any discussion? Any comments that you would like to make, Mr. Aho?
Yeah, the amounts and rate resolution, that's like the second step in our process. It's kind of something that we have to do with the county. That starts like in January, our first meeting, where we pass our Budget Commission resolution. This one is basically where the county sets the tax rates. They basically just send it back to us, and then we have to say okay and then send it back to them. Really, it's kind of more of a formality than anything, but it's just, I guess, to keep everybody in the loop and in agreement that you know what's going on. I think if there was an objection or something to their rates, there's nothing you can do about it, but it's really more of a formality that the county does to keep everybody informed of what's going on. And then you see the next thing to come back from the county will be a certificate of available resources, and that's kind of where we budget off of then. So this is all part of the budgetary process.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. Next is action items, personnel.
We need a vote. Point of
I'm
order.
sorry. Wow. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes. I'll slip in there. H1 and 2 passes 5-0. Now, on to action items and personnel. Without objection from my colleagues, I will read I1 through 3 together.
Mr. Curtis, make a motion to separate I-1 and read that separately.
Okay. And that's what we will do. We'll go with I1. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the certificated, licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background check. Do I have a motion to accept I1?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Felber. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Abstain.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes. Okay, and that item passes 4 and 1 abstention. Without objection from my colleagues, I will read I2 and 3 together. I2, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending ORC background check. And I3, that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the supplemental contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending ORC background check. Do I have a motion to accept I2 and 3?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Turl Waldron. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Davis. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes. And that item passes 5-0. Next is J1 through 12. Without objection from my colleagues, I will read J1 through 12 as all together. J1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a donation from Twinsburg Garden Club, 10036 Ravenna Road, Twinsburg, Ohio 44087, to the Twinsburg Wellness Committee in the amount of $400 to support a garden project benefiting the Twinsburg High School TASK, T-A-S-K, students per the attached exhibit. 2, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the attached listing of media center items to be deleted from inventory per the attached exhibit. 3, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the College Credit Plus agreement between Lorain County Community College and the Twinsburg City School District for the term of July 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2018 per the attached exhibit. 4, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the College Credit Plus agreement between University of Akron and the Twinsburg City School District for the 2017-18 school year per the attached exhibit. J5, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following items to be deleted from inventory. They are there for your perusal. J6, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a proposal for an overnight extended student trip for the Twinsburg High School varsity and junior varsity softball team to travel to Sports Forest Parks at Cedar Point Sports Center in Sandusky, Ohio for the softball spring scrimmage from Saturday, March 18th, 2017 to Sunday, March 19th, 2017. The cost of this trip will be paid for by the athletic department budget with support from the Twinsburg Athletic Boosters as sent to the board under separate cover. 8, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the contract through July 2021 with TransFinder, 440 State Street, Schenectady, New York, 12305 for transportation routing software support, training, and hosting services at a total cost of $24,895 pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the contract sent to the board under separate cover. This expenditure will be covered through the City County Funds Educational Service Center of Cuyahoga County. 8, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the lease agreement with the City of Twinsburg Parks and Recreation Department to utilize yellow school buses for spring, summer 2017. The City of Twinsburg will compensate the Twinsburg Board of Education for the use of the buses, including mileage, gas, and bus drivers, per the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement sent to the board under separate cover. 9, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the contract for the 2016-17 school year with TL Transport, 623 South Green Road, number 3, South Euclid, Ohio, 44121, for as needed transportation services for extracurricular events and select special education homeless routes pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the contract sent to the board under separate cover. 10, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the contract for the 2016-17 school year with the Suburban Transportation, 26 River Road, Hinckley, Ohio, 44233, for as needed transportation services for extracurricular events and select special education homeless routes pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the contract sent to the board under separate cover. 11, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves and authorizes the Ohio Schools Council for the 17-18 school year to advertise and receive bids on behalf of said board as per the specifications submitted for the cooperative purchase of 3 72-passenger unitized conventional school bus chassis and bodies. And 12, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the sanitary storm sewer easement with Mark and Laura Bartell at a total consideration of $2,500 in substantially the same form as the easement that has been provided to the board under separate cover. The funds will be deposited in the Permanent Improvement Fund. Do I have a motion to approve? Is it J? I think it's J1 through 12.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Felber. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Davis. I would like to thank the Twinsburg Garden Club for their donation in support of the garden project. We always like donations, and we appreciate the thought behind that and providing in-kind contributions. Any other comments? I know there was a lot there.
Number 7, if that could get explained, what that is.
Sure. Currently, our transportation department uses a routing software called Edulog, and it has extended beyond its useful life, basically. The problem with Edulog is you don't get the support you need when we have the need to call for help. So Mr. Brunton, our transportation supervisor, Mrs. Abbott, the assistant transportation supervisor, along with Matt McGing, our technology supervisor, and Mr. Welker have been investigating a number of options and have visited a number of our area neighbors, school districts who are using TransFinder and other routing software, and have determined that TransFinder is the best option for us to pursue. The reason this is coming to you this early, being still March, is there's much work to be done behind the scenes between now and the first day of school to establish the routes in the new routing software, and some training that has to happen for members of the transportation staff. So with your approval this evening, we can secure the contract using city-county funds, being able to move this forward so that our staff can be trained, the routes can be determined, and we're ready to roll the first day of school.
Okay, so we're purchasing the software, is what we're doing then, or?
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
From Cuyahoga County?
It's the funding source, right.
That's the
Okay.
source of the money.
Okay. Oh, the money's coming from them?
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and just to add to Superintendent Powers' comments. I happen to be very familiar with Edulog. During my days being employed with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, I was responsible for student assignments, and we often had to collaborate with transportation, and that was the system that we used back in 1999. Long time, very antiquated, and I think it's definitely due time to upgrade based on where we are today technologically. So,
it's like Edulog is a pretty much a DOS-based system, and so we're moving into the integration of the Google Maps, being able to have satellites of different pieces so that we're able to see the environment where we're setting the bus stops beyond just going out to them. So the other piece that we have is we're actually leading the initiative. We've talked with surrounding districts. The OSBA Transportation Department also provided a very high recommendation of this product. But we also have a clause in there that if the Ohio Schools Council negotiates a lower price, that we get that lower price. Right now, it's beating every consortium that's out there, and we added that protection in case somebody was able to negotiate a better price for us. So.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell-Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes. Okay, and that item passes 5-0. Moving on, J 13 through 17. Without objection from my colleagues, I will read 13 through 17 together. 13, that the resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a 6-year sponsorship agreement with the American Bottling Company, 5301 Legacy Drive, Plano, Texas, 75024, at a total value of $55,000 and other good and valuable considerations pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. 14, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a 5-year sponsorship agreement with Carpet Country, 9331 Darrell Road, Twinsburg, Ohio, 44087, at a total value of $50,000 and other good and valuable considerations pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. 15, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a 5-year sponsorship agreement with Cardinal Health, 1810 Summit Commerce Park, Twinsburg, Ohio, 44087, at a total value of $50,000 and other good and valuable considerations pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. 16, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves an 8-year sponsorship agreement with University Hospitals, Ahuja Medical Center, Incorporated, 3999 Richmond Road, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122, at a total value of $100,000 and other good and valuable considerations pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. And 17, that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the agreement through AEPA with Daktronics Sports Marketing, 331 32nd Avenue, Brookings, South Dakota, 57006, for a new scoreboard at Twinsburg Stadium and 2 new scoreboards for the Twinsburg High School Gymnasium at a total cost of $300,000 and $346. Yes. Pending financing per the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement as sent to the board under separate cover. This is a permanent improvement expenditure with the project funded through sponsorship dollars. These sponsorship dollars will be deposited in a separate facility update and replacement account and will then reimburse the permanent improvement fund. Do I have a motion to approve 13 through 17?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Solera. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Felber. Do I have any discussion?
Just the presentation was incredible, and I just want to express gratitude again to the sponsors who are going to make this scoreboard project possible for our community, or our schools, yes.
Any other comments? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes. And that item passes unanimously, 5-0. Next on the agenda is miscellaneous. Do we have any comments or items for miscellaneous?
Yes, I had something. I just wanted to address, there was some questioning as to a statement that I had made at the last meeting. So what I did is I provided a timeline for myself as far as what I felt would help support some of the decisions I made. On February 3rd, 2017 at 3:17 p.m., I did receive an email from our Board of Education attorney stating that, and I can't read all of it because it is confidential, but I can say that one of the statements in there was a goal of completion of negotiations by April 5th of 2017. That seemed like a reasonable timeline. On Monday, February 13th at 7:18 p.m., there was a email sent to the Board of Education with an initial proposal for negotiations. So this was the first step in our negotiation process. On Wednesday, on February 14th, we did have a meeting and did go into executive session. On Friday, February 17th at 12:43 p.m., there was a draft document sent to the Board of Education. On Tuesday, February 21st, I did send an email out to our school district attorney asking for him to call me. On Wednesday, February 22nd, our school district attorney did call. On Friday, February 24th, at 1:09 p.m., there was a counter proposal in place with 12 items that were highlighted that were still not in agreement. On Monday, February 27th at 2:02, there was an email sent by our school district attorney and some feedback between 4 of the board members. There was also on Wednesday, March 1st, there was an email sent at 9:26, 10:41, at 2:06. There were still some negotiations going on. At 2:10, I did at that point request a discussion in regards to negotiations to our board president. Our attorney did forward that to him. I did not get any feedback. I did request that we have a discussion. From February 13th, from the initial proposal to March 1st is 15 days. And for me, I don't know how it is for everybody else. For me, I've been in business for 25 years. I negotiated many of contracts. I have crossed my T's and dotted my I's in many arenas. For me, it was a little fast. And at this point, I don't want to dwell on it. I think what's done is done. We can move forward. But I do ask this board that, and my colleagues, to respect the process. Not everybody may move at the same pace as everybody else. We are a team. We need to work as a team. If one of the team members or 2 of the team members needs additional time, I would request that we respect that. And for me, I would have liked to have seen a little more explanation in a couple different areas. So, as I said, moving forward, I think it's important. We've got some big things coming up. We have some very positives in this community. I'm about being positive for our children, being positive for our educators, being our leader and really providing the best that we can. So I thank you for listening, and I appreciate the process, and I appreciate that hopefully we can respectfully and amicably move forward.
Understand that there were 2 meetings before that, Mrs. Terwalder. On January 18th, we met in executive session, which is the first time that we discussed our roles and our responsibilities in relationship to the Ohio Revised Code and an expiring contract of a superintendent. So yes, while a formal proposal by the board may not have been entered until the middle of February, the board was researching, doing homework, and formulating our initial thoughts prior to that. In fact, it was January 18th we met, February 1st we met, and that was at February 1st is when we informed council to, inform Mrs. Powers' council that we were going to enter into negotiations, and then we made a request, and I specifically remember putting a date on it, that by February 10th, all 5 members of this board would respond with their thoughts in terms of a new contract. So while I can understand, your issue or feeling that it may have moved quickly, understand that the contracts that went back and forth and the negotiations that we instructed our council to have all fell within the majority of parameters that were set at that first meeting that the majority of the board had agreed to, and at no point in time was anything moved from that without communication going back and forth and board members responding and discussing and giving their own thoughts. So I want everybody to understand that this was a 6-week process. We had executive sessions that lasted, I think 11:30 we got home one night.
But
So
in those
it
executive
was
sessions, we were not negotiating.
Point of order, I believe Mr. Solari has the floor.
We are not negotiating the contract. We employed a legal counsel to negotiate the contract, as Mrs. Powers employed a legal counsel to negotiate the contract. We set parameters for our counsel to go to, and much like we do with every other contract, and we don't negotiate contracts in public. That's why nothing had been said about it. That's why it goes back into executive session. We approach this contract the same exact way that we approach every other contract, with every union that we have, with the support staff, and we set parameters. The final offer that we had sent, the latest offer that was agreed to, was within the parameters that the majority of the board had accepted and were comfortable with. That contract was accepted. Whether it was accepted that day, whether it was accepted 2 weeks later, it was a proposal that the majority of the board agreed to within the parameters that were discussed back in February. So the timeline, is a 6-week timeline. Any way you look at it, encompassing 2 to 3, two executive sessions over 6 hours of discussing where we were going, what we were comfortable with, and what we were comfortable offering. So, while it may have appeared to move forward and fast in your eyes, I want the public to understand this was not something, like I said 2 weeks ago, this was not something that was rushed into. This was not something that the board did no research on. This was a very thoughtful process and enacted the way this boards previous to us have ever entered into any contract negotiation. So, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that, but I want everybody to understand that we started having discussions on this on January 18th. And I think that's an important thing, and the parameters were set early on, and those parameters were followed, and contracts were given through that. So that's all I have to say on that.
Mr. Curtis, I'd like to address the board as well. I want to address what I believe is a grave misrepresentation of the process our board used to negotiate the contract renewal of our superintendent. It was reported on the March 3rd in the Twinsburg Bulletin that a board member wished she had had more time to discuss the contract. There was also a mention about an agenda item placed just a few short hours before the meeting. The statement about a rushed agenda is offensive to me, and I believe undermines the true efforts of the process. The agenda is simply a final step in our approval. There is procedure for discussion on every vote and always the opportunity to request an executive session if legally appropriate. Neither comment was offered at the time of the vote, nor such a request of this board member for executive session prior to the vote. At that time, the negotiated contract had been accepted by the superintendent. Hundreds of contracts are vetted by our legal and our administration team each year, and each board member is aware when an item is added or removed from the agenda pending the outcome of a particular negotiation. That was the case at the last meeting, just as it was the case on the contracts that came before us tonight. The reality is the board met several times in executive session over 6 weeks. The board agreed to negotiate a contract, and at that time, the process was coordinated by our legal counsel. We discussed details of the contract individually with legal counsel back and forth over 6 weeks, and the final terms of the contract were agreed upon by our superintendent the day of our regularly scheduled board meeting. Procedurally, once we agreed to negotiate, it was about the details, not a go, no-go decision. Additionally, in the 3 years I have served on the board, both the treasurer and the superintendent received board-led evaluations every 6 months. That's 6 separate exemplary evaluations in my time for both the employees and our charge for the past 3 years, let alone the evaluations conducted by previous boards. I, for one, take my responsibility very seriously. I prepare for board meetings, I ask questions, and I'm very involved in all procedures. This has been true the entire 3 years I have served, including 2 years as an officer of the board. The statement in the local media on its own seems to undermine the community's trust in the board. While we are 5 individual votes, we must do our best to represent the electorate. In my opinion, all of the votes should be explained. Myself and the 3 of my 4 colleagues did just that evening. We explained why we voted the way we did. Silence is not an option. This on what should be, and I quote our colleague in this article, one of the most important things we do as a school board is evaluate and hire the treasurer and superintendent. That, in my opinion, is what we owe this community as their elected representatives. We owe explanation, not misleading comments and silence.
I didn't really prepare anything. I'm just going to speak from just from my thoughts on the top of my head. With all the contracts that we negotiate, whether it's our teachers union, our classified staff, ensure that we will take our time. We will put our a lot of hours into it, quite a few late nights, a lot of hours. And just rest assured that everyone on this board, regardless of having differences of opinions or different votes on different things at different times, we all do care about the children in the schools, and we all have students in these schools. And moving forward, we're all going to be united on supporting our schools and supporting our students and supporting our staff. How we get there sometimes isn't always easy. It can be very challenging. But just rest assured that we all do care about our students and our staff and our kids, our community and the schools.
Thank you. I'll also echo what my colleagues have expressed in the way of, superintendent's contract along with the treasurer are pretty important in the way of consideration. And as an elected official, I do take it very seriously. I take our roles and responsibilities very seriously, and I can assure the community, based on my own personal experience throughout this process, that we were very thoughtful in performing our due diligence with this process. I want to reiterate what has already been said, that there were multiple iterations of contract proposals that were exchanged between our legal counsel and that of our superintendent. Throughout the entire process, each and every board member was given an opportunity to provide feedback, suggestions, recommendations, because that's what negotiations is all about. Once that was said and done, our last proposal was sent to Mrs. Powers' attorney, to which she accepted. So once the proposal is accepted, it's accepted. Discussion Deliberation, there is none. The proposal has been accepted. So to that end, I just want to make sure that the community knows, again, that it was a 6-month process. I did quote that in the paper. But more importantly, 6 weeks, 6-week process, correction, and that it was a very thoughtful process, and we did perform our due diligence, and the extent to which it's characterized as something other is simply not true. So I want to make sure that I made my sentiments clear on that. I do have other updates that I would like to talk about.
Before we move on, I would like to say one more thing. Can you please share how the board members were communicating from February 22nd through March 1st? How we were negotiating that, how we were communicating?
I cannot.
You cannot. Did we sit at a table together and have a meetings of the minds? Did we sit together in executive session? Did we meet face to face and have conversation? Is anybody willing to answer that question? Did we as a Board of Education sit down with our colleagues and have conversation about the process, about this negotiation?
We sat down on 3 separate occasions in executive session extensively.
Okay, and on February 24th, there were 12 items that still had not been, that were still separated. Can you tell me how this Board of Education came to the conclusion to move forward?
We each had an opportunity to provide feedback to our legal counsel, and we did.
Okay.
Everyone
And they
did.
make clarification
Yes,
that
and we did
legal
not sit
counsel
down.
communicated with us individually, not as a board,
Right.
per law.
Okay.
Legal counsel would speak with each of us via email or on the phone, and not in groups. That is the standard of law that should be conducted, and that's the way it was conducted.
So via email, our attorney
Regarding this matter individually.
individually.
There was no group emails regarding the
There were no
negotiations.
group emails?
There were no group
No,
emails
there weren't.
regarding the particular, our legal counsel was instructed to reach out to us individually, to
Okay.
poll us on our feedback on the various points, whether it be 12 or 24, and I believe that was what was done.
Mhm. Okay. Well,
Okay, so I would like to provide some updates. I alluded to earlier in my president's report that I did go to Columbus earlier today, and attend a legislative seminar that was actually hosted by the Ohio School Boards Association. And I'd like to kind of give a synopsis of what occurred throughout my time there. The OSBA provided a host of recommendations that they are working on, and that this is very typical. They have a legislative platform that they like to inform the members of that they forwarded to the legislature for consideration of a number of topics. So I'll speak to specifically to some of the remarks that were made that were germane to our district from elected representatives. Representative Cliff Height, who is the chairman, Senator Cliff Height, who's the chairman of the Senate Finance and Primary Secondary Committee, indicated and told the group that he, along with Senator Peggy Lenner, who's also the chair of the Education Committee in the Senate, they met with the Ohio Department of Education yesterday. And this goes a little bit, more along the lines of your remarks earlier, Mrs. Powers, because one of the huge things reasons that they met with ODE was to kind of really sit down and talk about ODE's draft response to ESSA, and really the answer to the question in terms of why it was delayed. It was delayed, and they delayed sending the document because they felt that it wasn't ready. folks in the legislature, they've been getting a lot of feedback from constituents all over the state, very consistent with the feedback that ODE had gotten but chose to ignore. It seems like the legislature put pressure on the Ohio Department of Education to put the brakes on this thing and do the right thing. So I want to make sure that the community understands that voicing your concerns works. Having a collective effort works. So don't ever think that you don't have power. You do in the way of providing the feedback. So as a result of that, ODE has developed a testing committee to more closely examine various aspects of how tests are administered. Some things that they're looking at are, for one, obviously they're going to look at the number of tests that are administered. Currently, Ohio administers more tests than are required at the federal level. I believe the federal level only requires 17, and Ohio administers something upwards of, I think, 7 over and above that, if I'm not mistaken. So they want to look at reducing the amount of tests that are administered throughout the state, which is something that we've been saying loud and clear, and we will continue to say loud and clear. One of the other things that they want to explore is the content of the tests and making sure that all of these different tests are administered, some multiple in a grade level and some throughout a grade span, if it's duplicative. Because if it is, then they can take that out, thereby kind of reducing and minimizing not only the number of tests, but the amount of time that it takes when you take the tests. So that's one huge thing that I wanted to make sure that you all understand, that there is movement on that front, and they are listening. Also, there are 3 things specifically that Senator Height highlighted. One is, again, to reduce the amount of tests, and the other thing is with OTES. He spoke specifically about that, and that there was a need to reduce the amount of time and constraints around the process and de-emphasize tests being connected to evaluations. Those were, quote unquote, his words. So I think that they realize the importance of how this negatively impacts our administrators and their ability to kind of do what they need to do. He even gave an example of, he interviewed a principal, and he asked him, just, give me the day in the life. And the principal told him that the percentage of time that he spends running around doing evaluations, and he doesn't even have time to have much interaction with the children, much less providing support for teachers. So I think that struck him, and they are definitely listening. And now this is all on the Senate side. The other piece, which I think is huge, is the graduation point system requirement. This is something that I have been told on both sides of the aisle is going to change. Okay, they said that there will be relief this year. The caveat is that they're not sure what it's going to look like. Okay, so fair. I think that they do understand what the numbers are, and the data is what it is. There have been numbers run that for this year's current juniors, that there's a significant portion of those kids who are slated not to graduate simply because of an arbitrary point system that's in place right now that they're required to get. So upwards of 40% statewide. So this is a very real thing, and I think that the legislature definitely recognizes that, and that they are planning on acting. Now, the reason I emphasize that is because the last thing that we heard was from the State Board of Education and the Ohio Department of Education, that they had no intention of doing anything to change the rigor or to change the format of the point system. And even the governor came out individually and said that he didn't see any reason to change it. Well, we have a legislature that has a supermajority in both chambers, and they have the flexibility and the ability to do it, and we've been told that they do plan on doing something this year. So that's huge. In other areas, school funding came up, And I'm told that there's a split in both caucuses with respect to school funding. Doesn't surprise me at all. We do know that there's a problem with school funding. It's kind of why we're sitting in the boat that we are right now in terms of having to come to the community for a levy. And so things are being tossed back and forth, but they're not given anything specific with relation to kind of what any plans. Right now, the governor's biennial budget is in the House, has not made it over to the Senate yet, and so typically the House will make changes, and if the changes are consistent with what the Senate would already do, then they won't act on that. And so there are some items that the senators were reluctant to give me specific information on because they were waiting on members of the House to finish and send it over. So they don't know what it's going to look like when it hits the Senate. One of the things that Senator Peggy Leonard spoke on, which I was thrilled about, she says that she wants to look at providing funding for early childhood. She indicated that this isn't something that's going to happen in this budget, but it's a personal goal of hers, and she wants to see it happen. She even threw out an interesting statistic, which I found profound. She said that for every dollar spent in early childhood, there's a return of $7 to $10. I don't know if you can get a better return of investment than that, but she gets it. She gets the significance and importance of investing in early childhood sooner so that you don't have to pay later in the way of remediation and folks and students being held back. One of the other things that's being talked about that Senator Leonard talked about in the way of looking at end-of-course exams is possibly using a student's grade that they achieve in the class in lieu of the cut score that we currently use for end-of-course exams. She also wants to re-examine remediation-free scores on the SAT and ACT. Okay, so I think all of these are very good things. And then one other thing that came up, which I thought was extremely interesting, going back to the way that we're funded, and then we talk about this in relation to charter schools. As you all know, charter schools are funded by monies that are taken directly out of our coffers, our foundation dollars. And there's a disproportionate amount of the money that's taken away from us. So, example, Twinsburg only gets $1,200 in foundation funding, but if a child leaves our district and goes to a charter school, they deduct $5,800. Okay, this has been going on for some time now, and there's been a lot of hoopla around it about the disparity and that it needs to change. Senator Lehner has said that there has been discussion of funding charters directly out of the general fund instead of taking money from school districts. She again reiterated that this is unlikely. It's highly unlikely that anything would happen in this current budget. But it is extremely encouraging that these conversations are now being had in the General Assembly because it was poo-pooed for many years. And I think that the grumblings that they're hearing from not only us, but districts around the state that are having to go back to voters over and over and over again for monies that they don't get from the state that they should get. It's unfair, and something needs to happen and it needs to be rectified. Last but not least, Representative Fred Strayhorn, who's the House Minority Leader, along with Senator Joe Schiavone, Senate Minority Leader, they both spoke of the need to increase accountability of online charters. Specifically, I know Schiavone has a bill that he's introduced to increase the accountability for online charters and making sure that they're able to document that kids are actually learning as opposed to being offered an opportunity to learn. Because right now, that's where we are right now. They're being offered the opportunity and they're funded as if they are learning. So, because he's a Democrat, I'm not sure how far the bill is going to go, but the fact that it's been introduced and he's talking about it, I was encouraged by that. The other piece, which I found profound was Senator Strayhorn, Representative Strayhorn, talked about the Duroff ruling. And for those of you who don't know about the Duroff ruling, it was Supreme Court handed out a ruling multiple times, basically ruling the way that the state funds traditional school districts is unconstitutional because it's too heavily reliant on tax dollars. That was 20 years ago. And he brought up the fact that from a constitutional standpoint, this is one of the primary things that the legislature is responsible for adhering to, is adequately funding public schools, providing sufficient funds for public schools. And the fact that we're sitting here 20 years later and there's refusal to, for one, acknowledge that there's a problem, and two, to fix it, the whole room erupted. He didn't get a standing ovation, but he should have got a standing ovation because he hit the nail on the head. Districts are tired. Parents are tired, and that doesn't mean that they're not committed to the districts in which they reside. But they feel taxed out. So that was the legislative seminar. After that, I did have an opportunity to meet with Christina Rogner, as well as the aide from Senator LaRose. And so, I had my talking points. I was very well prepared, and some of my asks were what I've kind of already talked about. But one of the things that I impressed upon both Senator LaRose as well as Representative Rogner is to do something about non-funded mandates. I gave an example of College Credit Plus, and you heard us read off a few partnerships that we have with College Credit Plus. And right now, the textbooks for College Credit Plus come directly out of our general fund. We don't get monies from the state. This is a mandate that we're required to implement, but with no money. There are other examples where this is the case, and so my comments to both of them were that we don't mind following through with law, but when it doesn't come with funding, it only exacerbates our current situation. We're having to dip into funds that we're trying to be careful about already, and we're spending down on monies and for initiatives that we can't plan for. So so they were very agreeable to that. I've talked about a piece of legislation that actually started a year ago with Representative Rogner, and the legislation, the goal of the legislation was to have monies returned to the district of residence for students that attended a charter school where either the money was misspent or was sent to them and either mismanaged or by way of an audit they shouldn't have gotten it. And so right now the system, the way that it is, that when they have these findings, those monies are returned to the general fund. They don't go back to the districts from which they came. So at that time, she introduced legislation last year, and it died before the end of the legislative session. This legislation has been reintroduced as House Bill 87. Okay, and I've had a number of conference calls with her, the Legislative Service Commission, as well as the Ohio Department of Education, as well as the Ohio State Auditor of State, to make sure that all of the powers that be are in the room, having the same conversation, making sure that we're talking about the same thing, and making sure that this isn't something that if it's enacted, we turn around and find that there's a flaw in it that we have to go back and revise. So today, after I met with Senator Rogner, she was actually due to do sponsor testimony on this House bill. So we're hopeful that it's successful. We're also hopeful that it's a clean bill, and nothing is attached to it because it is very attractive and it does have bipartisan support. Last but not least, she surprised me, Senator Rogner, in that she has proposed another bill, House Bill 49, and this bill, language in this bill, would require the state to fund districts at the same level as non-chartered parochial schools, basically, chartered non-public schools. And so there are a handful of districts throughout the state that actually receive less funding than chartered non-public schools. And she felt that's absurd. I feel it's absurd. It is something that has been brought up. I know that the Alliance has brought this up. Well, I wasn't aware, but she's actually introduced legislation to change that so that our funding would be bumped up to at least that, so that we are on par with chartered non-public schools. So she gave me a draft of the bill, highlighted the area, and I told her that I would be more than happy to report out on it this evening at this board meeting. So those are my updates for my time in Columbus today, checking down at crack of dawn this morning. So I do know what it's like being out on the roads at the crack of dawn.
It's great fun.
You know, except I was driving down to Columbus. But coming all the way back here, I wanted to make sure that I provided a full update to the board and the community. And again, it's just a continuation of what we've been doing for a long time. But your efforts are impacting the right people, and hopefully these things come to fruition and we get a little relief so that we can do what we're all charged to do, and that's with providing high quality education and opportunities for our students.
I'd like to
Mr. Curtis.
commend Mr. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
just piggyback on something. Not to,
Go,
ahead.
you go first.
Well, first of all, thank you for spending the day down there. It is a very fascinating place, and when you're at the State House, you get the most up-to-date information. The one thing I wanted to just piggyback on, something you said earlier today, I was on a conference call with our lobbyist with the Alliance regarding the testing piece of ESSA, and one of the things that we'll be doing here in our school district, you know, what I worry about is a knee-jerk reaction to a request, and so what I want to ask our educators is the question will be, if you had your wish, which of the assessments can we do without? Which ones do you find the most value in? And what is your recommendation to the legislators? If you don't ask the staff where those tests are being applied, we're going to be short-sighted in our response to the individuals that are going to make these decisions down in Columbus. And so we're going to create some kind of a survey and send it out to our teaching staff here, because it's very important that we represent them well, and the data needs to be accurate. I could think I know what they want, but unless we ask them what they think is best, we're going to be misrepresenting them moving forward. So that will be out here in short term. Fortunately for us, the Alliance has a representative sitting on that testing committee, and they're asking for the data. And so that's the reason why we're going to do that here, to provide that information to the individuals who will be making the recommendation to people down in Columbus. So thank
Great.
you again.
Thank you.
I just wanted to commend Mr. Curtis on a very detailed report. That's not the first report we've heard. Probably spending more time driving back and forth to Columbus than the time that the representatives allot you to sit with them. But that's above and beyond the call to duty with respect to your role as president of the board and a member of the Board of Education. And I, for one, appreciate not all of us have the wherewithal, the background to conduct through the hallways of some of the, some of those issues. So thank you for doing that, and especially today on the day of a board meeting to be down there. Probably passing Mrs. Powers going the other way, because I know she's always down there legislating and testifying, on our behalf. So I appreciate both you and your efforts for doing that.
Yes, I was going to say too, thank you for all that explanation and for kind of keeping it not for all the detailed information, but still making it understandable for us all to hear and really know what the key issues are, and for so much time that you both spend down there.
And also, I know we have a very vocal group of parents in the community. Some we do know about, others we don't, who have been advocating for our kids and writing to their, the legislators and the lawmakers and the key people outside of our district and at the state level. And we even have a number of parents who have been trying on a regular basis to meet with some of these key people. And that advocacy is really starting to make a difference. So get more parents to do it, and that'd be even better. But it does, even though some we know about and some we don't, we recognize the efforts of our parents too in making changes at the state. And they do need to hear from not just the educators and not just the administrators. They need to hear from parents and community as well. And thank you.
Great. Well, there's two things that I'm sorry, I'll admit it to speak to that are in the governor's current budget proposal. One was that a requirement that teachers do an externship as a requirement for their licensure renewal. I'm told on both sides of both chambers that is not happening, and it's going to be dead on arrival. So that isn't happening. The other piece that I brought up was the requirement that the boards of education appoint 3 non-voting board members that are business people. I'm told that is dead on arrival. That is not going to happen either. They understand the absurdity of both of the recommendations, and they have no intentions of enacting that. So.
Motion adjourned.
Yes, I will take a motion to.
So moved.
So I'll make the motion,
No, you
and
make it. I'll second.
Mr. Felber second. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turtle-Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Slura?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much for your attendance.